Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to inform you about this big giveaway we have going on right now. The Ultimate R&K Elk Hunt giveaway from now until September 5th. Every dollar you spend on our mobile app or our website gets you one automatic entry to win a $25,000 package to come hunt elk with us in the northern mountains of Utah this October. So don't hesitate. It's a short giveaway window, about 3 weeks. So get in there now for the opportunity of a lifetime. Welcome back to the Hushlife Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are back in the office / Eric's shop. And South Slopes. Today we got Eric back on the hot seat, and we are going to talk about all things backpacking gear today. We just got done filming a pretty sweet kind of standalone video that will have been live by the time this podcast comes out. And it's kind of the ultimate hunting sleep system or backpacking sleep system. And kind of just run through, Eric, why are we trying to tinker with the sleep system?
Well, Matt and I have spent a ton of nights collaboratively, like probably hundreds of nights in the backcountry, sleeping on the ground in different conditions, hot to cold, summer to spring, winter, and fall. And this last spring, I think you and I both were getting our butts kicked when it comes to just getting a good night's rest.
Yeah.
That led us to like deep diving down into sleep systems and what options are really out there when it comes to like answering and solving all the problems that we had found with our current sleeping systems in the backcountry. And of course, Matt, he's a gear geek, man. This guy right here, he just likes to tinker with gear. He likes to look at the new things. I mean, I'm just kind of speaking for yourself right now, but just from what I've seen, Matt really likes gear reviews, diving into like the best things, the best features. Is it how much lighter? What's the packability of these items? This is everything from sleep systems to camera equipment. I mean, he's running the podcast here. There's a bunch of wires going everywhere. That's not like how my brain ticks at all. So when it comes to gear, it's really fun to hang out with Matt because he's about that life, you know, like he loves to just, I don't even know how to explain it. Just loves gear and reviews.
I love to tinker. I think all the way back to like probably elementary school, man. I would take apart an RC car and take apart like an RC truck and like combine them, make them like all-wheel drive, put both drivetrains in one little RC car. I don't know. I've always been like, I don't want to say mechanically inclined because that kind of sounds like I'm trying to pump up my own tires, but like I've always liked to build and see how things work. And gear's just that next level. It's like, okay, how does it work? How is it better? How is it lighter? How is it more efficient? How is this going to make my experience hunting or fishing or anything better? And that's where, like, that's the pinnacle, right? I tease around with family and friends and say that I love any hobby that requires acquiring a lot of gear. Like ice fishing is that, you know, like takes a lot of gear to get out there and to fish comfortably. Anyways, so is backpacking and so is hunting. And that's kind of what this podcast is about. Is Eric touched on it. This spring stands out amongst all other times I spent in the woods, just not sleeping. Whether I was cold or uncomfortable or pad popped or just like restless, like could not get comfortable, man. And I was just so frustrated. I've never struggled sleeping. I've always been that kid that would go to bed early. Like people are still partying. I have no FOMO. I'll just go in and go to bed. Like I have no problem. And I need 8 or 10 hours. Like that's how I've always been wired. And
you can tell when we're at camp and it's like the joke around camp is like Eric goes straight for the stove. Matt is legit trying to find the fastest way to get to bed. If he needs something from people or he knows we're going to film something or he knows he needs to drop footage on the SD card, like he is on a mission to complete any little task that he knows he must get done before he goes to sleep. So I'm going to camp. First thing I'm looking for is like, what can we eat? What can we cook? Yeah. Like now? And Matt's like, what can I do to complete my task to just get to bed?
Yeah, man. I love sleeping. That's it for me. But it's just like, I have been getting my trash kicked sleeping. And it's not like it's not what you would think. Like, people are like, oh, you just can't shut your brain off. Like, you're afraid a lion's going to get you or a bear. And it's like, no, like, none of that bothers me. I just cannot get into a deep rest. So that brought us to our topic today. And I did a deep dive. Like Eric says, a gear junkie kind of. I love watching gear reviews. I love listening to all sorts of professionals or people a lot smarter than me talk about this stuff. And I kind of developed a formula or a criteria for the perfect night sleep in the backcountry. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through my formula and the importance of Eric being here today, because it's not going to be a one-sided podcast as I walk through this formula, because nobody that I know personally has spent as much time in the woods in the last decade as Eric, that I know personally. So I love to bounce some of these ideas off. I love to get his simple answers, right? He's not going to play devil's advocate too much, but he will kind of be like, that just not a big deal for me type of guy. So I love bouncing these ideas off. So this formula, I'll get right to it. This formula for me consists of 3 or 4 things: warmth, comfort, and efficiency. That's kind of the triangle I'm looking at in my brain. So warmth is made up of a couple things: an efficient pad with high R value and a warm sleeping bag. And they bounce off each other. And this is very important, because if you buy a 0-degree sleeping bag, you can look at kind of the description of the sleeping bag, and that will say like, as tested on like an R3 value pad or something. That's like fine print that you're not really paying attention to, because you're like, oh, I'll buy a 0-degree bag and then a non-insulated pad.
Be warm.
Yeah.
As long as it's not below 0.
Yes, right?
That's how it comes off. Like when I always, was younger, and even still to this point, like if you tell me it's rated at 0, then in my head, that automatically says, okay, so you're telling me if I sleep in that bag, I'm going to stay warm until it's below 0.
Yeah. And that's a survival rating too. Comfort ratings on all these are like much warmer. Like 0 degrees really like comfort to 20, 25 degrees. So all this taken in account. So my kind of evolution of backpacking sleeping bags goes in this order. Like, I bought kind of a cheap $100 Marmot sleeping bag from Shields. I'm like, oh dude, this thing's so lightweight. It's so packable. It's tiny. It's a 45-degree bag. I'm like, I'm never going to be camping when it's colder than 45. Archery mule deer, archery elk, that's all I need it for. And then if you add 20 degrees on that warmth or comfort rating, that's a 65-degree bag. And a lot of nights in September, it gets below 65 degrees. So froze my butt off. So my next sleeping bag was a Big Agnes synthetic bag, super rad pad. And that kind of goes into the next category. And like the efficiency of that bag, it has a pad sleeve and a pillow sleeve. And these are 2 huge things that are so overlooked. I swear, I think Big Agnes might have some sort of patent on certain things, but I swear it should be industry standard for sleeping bags to have a sleeve for the sleeping pad and a sleeve for the pillow. It's anytime you wake up from a deep sleep to chase your pillow or to get back on your pad.
Story of my life, chasing the pillow.
Dude, it should just be a crime. Like,
sounds like a movie, like a film name, Chasing Pillow. Like, so relatable. How many people have tried these little blow up pillows, and then you're putting them on like a slippery material of a sleeping bag or a sleeping pad?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's just like, whew.
Yeah. And
Horrible.
I've seen some killer hacks. Like, I've seen people like, they'll get double-sided like grip tape and put on the backside of their pillow, which I haven't tried that yet. That might be down
Anything,
the pipe.
right?
Yeah, like
get adhesive, Velcro.
Yeah, you could
sure
just
there's
do
a few
Velcro.
different things.
I even came up with like an idea in Arizona with a neck buff. I stretched out one of our Hush neck buffs like to where I thought it was going to rip and put that around the pad and then put the pillow inside.
Well, that looked pretty solid.
It performed above what I could imagine.
So we can now sell neck buffs like double as
pillow sleeve.
Pillow sleeve.
Yeah.
I like it.
So dual purpose. That's backpacker mentality. So the biggest thing with the sleep for me was the comfort and the warmth. That's where I was struggling. And I found out that I need a high R value sleeping pad. And it just so happens that high R value sleeping bags are normally thicker and are more comfortable. So while kind of doing this deep dive, I found that a lot of people who sleep on their back have a hard time sleeping if their hands fall lower than their hips on their back. And this is like some college sleep studies. I was reading all these studies that was like, yeah, it's critical for your hands to be at the same level as your hips or higher. And in my mind, I don't know why that just never clicked, because I try and sleep mummy style with my hands on my chest, right? Just like I'm in a coffin, but I can never fully relax my hands. I feel like it takes energy to hold them together almost. Yeah. So I try and like fall asleep with them on my lap, but then they always fall off to the side. And I wake up and my elbows or hands are on the ground and I'm like not comfortable. And I'm just like, why? How was I only asleep for 12 minutes? You know, like I thought it would be 2 a.m. by now. So that's a big thing. And the solution to that is a wide pad or a pad or a sleeping bag with a pad sleeve that kind of wrangles your hands in so they can't slip off. So those two things are critical in my math equation for a perfect night's sleep in the backcountry. So pillow sleeve, pad sleeve, high R value pad. So moving along with this equation, I also tend to end up on my side throughout the night. Like I like to fall asleep on my back, but then I toss and turn a little bit. And a thicker pad allows your knees and hips and shoulders to not touch the ground. Because if any of you have been sleeping out in the woods when it's cold, there is nothing that wakes you up faster than your shoulder resting
being
on
numb.
Resting on frozen ground.
Well, that's what I always wondered. I'm no expert on this. I've spent a ton of nights in the backcountry, but when it comes to the blow up pad, I'm like back and forth on like, okay, do I pump this thing as hard as I freaking can blow with my mouth?
Yeah.
Or do I kind of have it somewhat flat, knowing that when my body weight gets on there, it distributes the air and it's more cushioned? I still don't know the answer to that because I like try both.
I think it's a preference. Me personally, I pump that thing till it is rock solid.
Mm-hmm. But then is it soft? You know what I mean? Like
I get what you're saying.
Does it fit like a cushion if it's so tight?
Yeah.
Especially with your body weight as you compress.
It's definitely not as comfortable. I have done both.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as comfortable, but I would take the lack of comfort and not have my hips and shoulders on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So moving down this equation, a thick pad with a high R value. Then last but not least, kind of the cherry on top, something that is so overlooked that most people don't even think about it, a pillow. And man, if there's anything that can just wreck a night's sleep, it's having the pillow too high, too low, the pillow non-existent. That's critical for me. And I know you've talked about it, is like a solid pillow is the make or break on a lot of these things. But what's so frustrating to me, and maybe somebody out there knows the answer to this, a midday nap on a mountain, I could be laying
in the rocks. Thinking about that when we started the podcast.
And pass out. And it's like, I just don't understand. Is it the warmth from the sun, or is it this?
I think it's a combination of things. Like you're probably tired at that point because you didn't sleep good the night before because you don't have an R value pad.
Yeah.
But I think naps, like I'm with you. Like I could get comfortable in like the dumbest spot for a midday nap, but those are short, right? Yeah. So like when you're talking about getting 8 hours through a night, it's different You know what I mean? Like that nap, like you couldn't sleep 8 hours in that position. You could sleep an hour.
Yeah,
That's
day a
nap.
fact. Because some of the naps that hit the hardest are you're able to go back to camp, climb in your tent that's a little warmer than you would like, but for some reason it just hits right, and you're on your pad and sleeping bag midday.
Have you ever just like been out in the woods, laid down, kind of shimmied in, and just thought to yourself, this piece of earth was built for my body? Like, have you ever had a spot where you didn't want to leave it? Like,
yeah, you're right.
Like your neck was just right. Like something cradled you just right. And you were so comfortable that you were like, how can I possibly be this comfortable laying in basically the rocks and the dirt? I've found places like that where I'm like, dude, this is built for me.
I've had them to where like I'll come to like a rock outcropping and like maybe move one rock around a little bit or something. And it's like a perfect recliner. Like my feet are the right height or anything. So with all that combined, we kind of settled on this sleep system, and we're not paid or sponsored by anything we're about to say. I don't even know how much the company we're about to pump up supports hunting, to be honest.
Yeah. It's more of like an outdoor brand, right?
Yeah.
Outdoor recreation brand.
Yeah. So the setup, I'll start with the pillow. It's the Nemo Pillow. I think it's the like luxury or the Nemo Pillow.
Yeah, I've got the luxury one.
You do. And that's the one you want.
It's inflatable with a like 1 inch memory foam on top.
Topper. Yeah, so you get the loft from the inflatable, but you have 1 inch of memory foam that makes it feel like a real pillow.
Yeah.
That's the pillow you want.
That's my jam, because I've tried all the pillows from the cheapies up to that one.
Yeah.
And some inflatable pillows, it just feels like you're laying on like a blow up, like floaty in the pool. Like it's not great. And then you got like the next level might have like an inflatable with like a removable cloth. That does decent. But then there's this one that's like inflatable on the inside, removable layer on the outside, like a pillow sheet, including that 1 inch memory foam.
Yeah, and that's the ticket.
Yeah, you lose, little packability or whatever.
Add a little weight.
The comfort replaces that.
Yeah. So that's a Nemo Pillow, and I want to say it's like $60,
$70.
$60-$70. I think it's 7 or 8 ounces. Let's get.
Yeah, today. So Matt's looking up a website, Black Ovis. This company's actually in Salt Lake City, which is cool because they have a small retail store as well. So anybody around Salt Lake or coming through Salt Lake, if you want to go put your hands on some of these products, I know a lot of people who, buying this type of stuff, you want to feel it. But you can do that in their little retail shop here in Salt Lake, or you can just simply order it online, blackovis.com. But this pillow that Matt's about to show on the screen is the luxury one, $60. That's the one that I bought.
Yeah, this is the pillow.
How do they word it? Like, what do they say is on top? Do they call it memory foam or?
Luxury foam.
Luxury foam.
Yeah, 12 ounces. So it's heavy for a pillow. Thickness, 4 inches. I mean, lifetime warranty. You got to love that.
That's solid. And it's washable, right? You could take the outside off, the little
Don't you love the
pillowcase.
Little commercials for the pillow, and it doesn't show anything about the pillow till the last 2 seconds is just somebody laying their head on it.
It's nice.
Yeah. So this is the pillow you want. Okay, moving on to the sleeping pad. We're kind of on 2 or 3 pads here. Like, the industry is pretty solid, I feel, for these pads. There's 2 or 3 that are very comparable, and we've kind of landed on the Thermarest Neo Air X Lite. I really like this, and the NXT is legit because it's their second iteration of the Neo Air. So it's a lot quieter, and it doesn't sound like you're sleeping on a bag of chips. So this pad, yeah, quiet rest and improved construction reduces noise by 83%. 4.5 R value, and the regular is 13 ounces, which is crazy.
Yeah, by the way, this this podcast, we really wanted to dive into some of this stuff because it's preseason.
Yep.
Like hunting season is about to be in full swing. Our hunts start mid-August here in Utah. It's early season archery hunts. I know Casey's going up to Alaska even before that, but a lot of people are curious what we use and what we've learned over the years. And this is just a good way to put out some information, to give people information so they can create or build their own sleep system. But man, I'll tell you what, like I started going into the backcountry when the first couple years into mule deer hunting I ever got.
Yeah.
For me, it was like everyone had like base camp down by the roads, a bunch of trailers, and that's great. But when I would just be like, so you're telling me we got to wake up like extremely early to go on like a long hike to get to this place we want to be at first light? Why the heck don't I just sleep there?
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed the idea of like getting into somewhere and staying the night so you can maximize your hunting efforts. Plus, it just keeps you in the field longer. Don't you feel like if you're staying out there, just more opportunities could be created by just simply being out there?
Yeah, it's just like, here's a fishing analogy. It's just like keeping your line in the water from sun up till sundown. You don't have to leave early so you can hike back part of the hike in the daylight. Like
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
You know, on the flip side of waking up early to get to where you want to be at first light, back in those early years of me hunting, just general season rifle hunt here in Utah, it's not always, but if you're with a group of people, there's typically someone who wants to be like, well, we should head back now so we get to camp at dark.
Yeah.
But it's like, you find out real quick as you hunt, at dark is like prime time. So if I'm packed in here, again, I can wake up at the glassing knob, hunting area, etc. If I stay out here, I could maximize my time in the field and I can actually be in the pocket until dark because I only have a short hike back to my base camp, my backpack style camp.
Yeah. And that's, me and Eric were talking about this today. Like this sleep system talk is so relevant because everybody sleeps.
Everybody has to sleep.
Everybody has to sleep. And this was like my point or my pitch to making this video is like, okay, so if everybody has to sleep and people want to hunt more efficiently and effectively, which I believe is sleeping in the zone, close to the zone, you have to have backpacking gear.
Yep.
For most hunts. And we have legit dealt, though 3 seasons I have filmed with Hush, I have never had an 8-hour night sleep in any backpacking scenario. In Alaska, I slept like 12 hours a night, but we were on a cot with a buddy heater. But that's what I'm getting at. Is like, I know I can't be the only one that struggles sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that only have 7 days, 5 days of vacation to go on some of these hunts, and you're not sleeping for 5 days, your hunting efficiency goes down the gutter real quick and it compounds on itself. Day 1, you might be able to get past it. Day 2, you're a little tired. Day 3 and 4, you're looking for an excuse to get home, to get some sleep. And I know that for a fact because I've been in those shoes. I've been in camp with people who aren't sleeping either. And it does nothing but ruin a hunt. There's nothing that will ruin a hunt faster than popping a sleeping pad. So that's kind of like Eric's saying, like this will help you kill more animals. A solid sleep system will increase your odds to kill more animals. And it all makes sense. Like if you're going to hunt a big deer, you have the deer patterned, you're waiting for him to bed in 95% probable spot for a stock. It's probably not going to happen the first day. Probably not going to happen the first 3 days. It could take 4 or 5, 7, 10, 12 days, And if you're not sleeping, good luck, Like, I don't care how mentally tough you are, you're not going to enjoy it.
So sleep, important.
Sleep, very important. So the pad that Eric kind of settled on is the Nemo Tensor. It's an insulated sleeping pad. Same kind of thing. High R value for the size. I believe it's like 4.7 R value at like 16 ounces. Super legit weight to warmth ratio. And then moving right to the sleeping bag. So we got the Nemo Pillow and Nemo Sleeping Pad, which just so happens that both those pads and pillow are by the same company. They're impressive. Like, I am stoked on that. And I'm running the Thermarest Neo Air XT, like I just showed you guys a minute ago. But the sleeping bag is a Big Agnes variety. And this bag, guys,
this setup is sweet. And I just want to flash back a little bit again. Like, it's always the joke around our crew, right? Is Eric doesn't care. Just kind of carry what I want.
Yeah.
I've just always been that way. And I never could afford none of this anyways before.
Yeah.
So I was always broke and I was always young. And it was more of the like, it doesn't matter if you sleep when you're young or not as much, as I'm getting older, like this last spring was like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm a zombie. Like if I'm not sleeping good, this sucks.
Yep.
My shed hunts in this year, I had that neck injury that really like took it to the next level. I just couldn't get comfortable.
Yep.
So I've tried it all. For anybody out there who's like, you got all these different attitudes and I've like experienced them all so I can relate to them all. You got the guy who's young, who's like, dude, I don't care. I'll sleep on the dirt. Like I have a friend, Jake Jr. He's a cowboy guy. He's like horseman and he'll legit hop off a horse with the lightest sleeping bag, curl up on the dirt path and just go to bed and be like, feel like $1 million when I wake up.
Yeah.
But he's young. So I've been that guy. And then I've been the like, well, giant sleeping bag. It's kind of heavy, but I want to take it anyways to stay warm. I had the foam pads before. They just roll out. They don't compact down, but it provides some cushion against everything you're sleeping on. And then the more I got into this backcountry stuff, you start getting these like, I'd say like standard blow up pads, like Climate or whatever that I've been using for the last few years. There, you can get those at any sportsman store, even Walmart.
They're solid for what they are. $50, $60, $70 for Static V. Like that's a solid pad.
Just blow them up with your mouth. They're kind of the 12 to 15 breaths.
Yeah.
But those have worked. And again, it's like, I got by with those and same thing. Like that's fine. It's good enough until it's not, you know what I mean? Until you realize you're starting to, like you said, get uncomfortable and start to get those thoughts in your head of like, well, if I just go back to the truck or, hey, maybe we should just head back to camp. But just like the outerwear that you wear, like the First Light and everything that we have, that is built to make you more comfortable, which is going to keep you in the field. Same with sleep, man. Like a good sleep system is allow you to get rest, allow you to have a clear mind, allow your muscles to recover so you feel good, so you have the desire to stay.
Yep.
In whatever you're doing. And that's shed hunting, scouting. So I feel like I can relate to anybody wherever you're at in your sleep system journey. I've been there. And I would say just now recently, I'm 40 years old, where I think I'm getting to the top of like what's available out there in the market.
Yep.
And Matt's going to run you through some of this stuff. And Matt recommended this system to me. We're driving back from shed hunts. He's playing YouTube videos and he's feeding me these YouTube links when we get home. Check these out. And it's like this system that Matt's going to explain to you. We picked it up from Black Ovis and I finally put it out today. We got it on the lawn and it's like, this solves all the problems I've had that create bad sleep. So I'm really looking forward to using the system, but no matter where you're at in your sleep journey system, if you're looking to improve it, like I think this is going to be a valuable podcast. And even if you're not, when you're ready to, you're going to remember this podcast and you're going to remember some of the tips and tricks that mostly Matt is going to give about some of these sleeping systems we're starting to move towards.
Yeah. And I mean, gear's expensive. I know. I'm 25 years old, young family, young father. I mean, I remember saving up to buy my first Vortex Diamondback spotting soap. And then I guided for a couple years and bought Vortex Crossfire binoculars. And then pretty soon I ended up with Swarovskis, and then the Swarovski 95 millimeter ATX spotting scope. Like these are all investments, and they improved glassing and they improved my efficiency and my success in the field. And I feel like once you start to get all these ducks in a row, your glass, your clothing, your boots, you're going to find weak links.
For sure.
And for me, that was my sleep system. And I know we've harped on this pretty hard, is how important the sleep system is. And you might be looking, if you're watching YouTube, up at the screen right now for $670, $669.95. You're like, holy shiz, that's an expensive sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And face value, yeah, I can't afford that. That's ridiculous. But looking at the sleeping bag for what it is, it's basically 3 sleeping bags in one.
Did you guys know that Hush has a brand new mobile app? And it is completely free. Simply search Get Hushin' where you get your apps. It's compatible with the iOS and Android platforms. With the app, you're going to get a lot faster checkout process for those of you who love to shop the Hush brand. We also do app-exclusive content. The only place to get this content is simply on the mobile app, and it's free. And don't forget, we do in-app exclusive giveaways. If you guys want to win some of the great products that you see us use in our videos, check out the mobile app today.
Okay, so I wanted to stop Matt right there and just kind of touch on this, because he kind of shared his evolution of optics and how with time and, resources, aka money and finances, you go from like the startup to the better stuff, right? Eventually making it to the best stuff. And I can relate to that. I think most people, through a process of like any type of hobby, is you don't know what you don't know, so you're just working with what you got. And again, that a lot of the time that does come down to cost. But say you had the information, like say someone was listening to this for the very first time, and they hadn't got into sleeping systems or they haven't bought a backcountry setup yet. It's kind of like Matt said this off camera, but he's like, buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
It's like you either buy like the $300 or $400 system, but then in like a season, you want the next one, then you want the next one, and then you got all this old stuff that you either need to sell or get rid of. When you could have buy once, cry once type of thing and just knock it out of the park and then have that system for quite a while. So the option's up to you. I know everybody, we're all in a different place, time, money, priorities, whatever. But I thought it was interesting because on our Instagram page today, while we were filming the YouTube video about the sleep systems, I put up a poll. There's obviously a lot of interest about sleep systems. If you've listened this far, you must be interested to some degree. But if you went on YouTube and search like sleep system reviews, my goodness, these videos they're watched hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of times.
Yep.
So clearly people are interested and curious. But I put out a couple questions on our Instagram stories and I did these polls. So I just there's 4 of them, I think. I want to go through them real quick. So the first one was a picture of all these pillows we had spread out on my lawn today. And I said, what's your go-to pillow? 50% of people said my house pillow. So they're just taking whatever they got at home and they're rolling up and throwing it in the backpack, which guilty of that. I did that even recently this year just because I wanted a good memory foam pillow. 24% said they take like a standard inflatable blow-up pillow. 16% a blow-up pillow with a foam or some type of cushion topper built in. And then 10% get the Walmart special. Just it doesn't blow up. It's like a cushion style pillow.
Just a little
which
cotton or whatever.
I've done them all. And then on the pads, I asked people, what's your go-to sleeping pad? The highest percent was 39% that just have like a standard blow-up pad. The next was 33% a high-end blow-up pad, which is kind of like the ones that Matt's talking about with the high R value. They're durable, and they also help keep you warm. 15% say a rolled-up foam pad. So you still got people just taking a piece of foam.
Yep.
And then 13% say, I sleep on the ground. Been there, done that. And then your go-to backpack sleeping bag. 47% say they use a mummy-style down bag that is more expensive. So most people are investing their money in the sleeping bag.
Intelligent.
The next one is 24%, a synthetic, less expensive bag. So you got high, you got low. And then you got 21% of people saying a quilt-style, minimal, ultralight bag, which we're going to show you that soon. Because some people may not even know what is a quilt system. I didn't know what it was until Martin Chag showed up to camp with one. I'm like, dude, you're going to sleep with that? Like, you're going to freeze, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was springtime. And then 8% are still using like an old heavy bag. And I've done that too. So the last one, I just wanted to point these out because I think they're interesting. And I think it says a lot about where people prioritize out of the entire sleep system. So the last one is like, what do you consider the most when you're shopping for or getting some type of sleep system? 32% say cost. So that's a big player.
Yep.
28 is weight. So that's very important to most people. 23 says comfort. 16% is packability. So for what I learned from that is more people are interested in the quality, the comfort and warmth over the packability.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to sacrifice like weight and, size in their backpack for a bad night's sleep.
Yep.
So clearly people do value like a good night's rest. You can see that through some of those polls.
Yeah. And I mean, we've all been there where we wish we had a little more pack space, for an extra pair of pants or for some extra food.
Hate to interrupt the podcast, guys, but I've got to tell you about the new All-In Snapshot digiscoping system. Allin.co has released a magnetic digiscoping setup that allows you to capture HD video through your spotting scope. It's that simple. Capture and share. Allin.co. Use the Hush code and save some cash.
The Hushlife Podcast is brought to you by absolutely nobody. However, if you own a smartphone and you want to save a little bit of money, make sure you check out the OnX Hunt app. It offers a variety of key features to improve your hunting experience. From nationwide public and private land boundaries, waypoints, lines, and all kinds of data you can share with your buddies, to 3D topical graphical maps you can explore while scouting for your upcoming hunt. Make sure you type in code HUSH. You will save 20% on all Hunt app opportunities. And if you want to take it to the next level, hit that elite button. It'll get you access to all 50 states. Absolutely, unequivocally, the greatest tool we take with us on every single hunt.
So obviously people care about comfort and they're willing to make it a priority. That leads me to the Big Agnes Lost Ranger Ultralight 3-in-1 0 degree down sleeping bag.
This is the business.
This is the business. So
this is what you want to get.
This is the bag you want to get. And if you look at the price, almost $700.
Dang.
Ridiculous. I get that. But you have to think you're getting an early season bag, a mid-season bag, and a late season bag combined. Like the way this sleeping bag works together, you'll never have to buy another sleeping bag again.
Basically, for those shed hunters, that's like 5 brown elk antlers.
Period.
5 or 6 brown elk antlers.
How
out of your stack, not even your keeper stack. This is a sale pile. 5 or 6 brown elk antlers, and you can be sleeping in one of these boys.
How many more sheds could you find if you were well rested?
Probably wake up earlier.
Wake up earlier, hit a few more zigzags.
Yeah.
So looking at this, it is under 2 pounds. For the whole bag, which is crazy. It actually says weight is regular 1.2 ounces, which is ridiculous. And then I think you add the inner bag. I think you have to add it together.
Yeah, so it's 3-in-1. So what the system is built of is like an outer shell that if you can see on the screen, if you can't see on the screen, I'm going to try to describe it the best I can. So there's an outer shell that also the bottom has a
sleeve.
A sleeve, that's the word I'm looking for. The bottom has a sleeve for a sleeping pad, and it's big, so it can fit a rectangle shape style sleeping pad. It could fit like a mummy shape tapered style sleeping pad. and it's got this like shoelace like cinch system that really cinches down tight.
What I like most about this is how this sleeve wraps around the edges.
That's something you pointed out today that I would have never considered.
Yeah, so when I was looking at this in person, I didn't notice this online or the YouTube videos, and nobody mentioned it.
Yeah.
How well that sleeve is going to protect your pad, because when you're sitting on the edge of your pad, taking your boots off, putting your boots on, climbing in and on and off your pad, those edges are where you're putting all the pressure.
Yeah, you called it a hot spot earlier.
Yeah, hot
and
spot.
you just, Matt, so we shoot these videos, guys. Like, we never have a script. These podcasts, we don't have a script. We're shooting this video, and Matt's just free flowing. And he's like, wow, look at that. Like, I love how this sleeve also protects the hot spots on the edges where you're usually putting a lot of pressure on those edges. And now you have an extra layer of protection to help to increase its
life.
To increase its life, protect it, and decrease the chance of it popping on one of those edges or corners.
Yeah.
Not corners, but edges.
Yeah, I always think about that when I'm putting my boots on in the morning. Like, oh man,
Just sitting on one edge,
yeah,
putting so much weight on it.
I got a lot of weight right here. So the inner bag, or the outer bag, I should say, is basically a glorified quilt. It's got a thin membrane, which is the sleeve for the pad, but then it's just a top layer of quilt. And it's rated for 45 degrees.
So the layer Matt's talking about, it's somewhat of a sheet.
Yeah.
It's a different material.
Like a thin membrane.
Yeah. It's like a membrane, but at least your skin isn't against the sleeping pad.
Yeah, you can kind of see it here in the video. So 45 degree outer bag. So killer for your scouting or your later season shed hunts or anything like that. And that's under a pound or right at a pound. So the sleeve and the quilt basically. And then it's got this inner, which is a 20 degree rated mummy bag that slides inside the outer bag, which gets you a 0 degree bag.
Combined.
Combined.
Like the two combined are rated at 0.
Yeah, for under 2 pounds, which anybody listening, try and find a 0 degree down bag, sub 2 pounds, that has a pad sleeve and a pillow sleeve. Please send them to me. I would love to do some comparisons, but I have yet to find one. And like I said earlier, like it could be a patent thing with Big Agnes, because I know they were the first company to have a pad sleeve that I ever saw. I had the Big Agnes Lost Dog with the Big Agnes AXL inflated pad.
At that time, I remember you had it on a shed hunt. We did like a camp tour.
Yeah, and that was
and we went and filmed your setup, and I was like, dang, dude, his sleeping pad isn't going to just be floating around all night, sliding on and off it. So I was like, dang, that's cool. I had never seen one.
Yeah, and then they got this pillow sleeve, which then again, Eric kind of pointed it out. Kind of sucks that it's not like a comfortable fabric, but like looking at it here, like you could almost take like some heavy duty magnets and like a thin piece of cloth, a magnet.
Oh, like put a cloth.
Magnet, a pillowcase, or you could safety pin something,
Not all the time, but I would say most of the time, I do like to sleep with like a long sleeve wick hoodie.
Yep.
And I'll put I'll sleep with the hood on my head.
Yeah.
Just for warmth and comfort.
Yeah. I love sleeping with the wick hoodie on as well. So that's kind of the sleeping bag. And I know, trust me, I've wanted to buy this bag for 1.5 years now and never have because of the price. Until like we made it a priority to get this sleep setup. So the next one I'm going to show you is another option, but it's not a one size fits all is the thing. And I wouldn't even say that this is for the masses either. Like, it's a quilt. And for those of you that have never really slept in a quilt, like there's no back. You're sleeping on the pad. But the thing is with the Stone Glacier Chill Coot, it's a 32 degree down quilt. It's got these straps here on the back that you can cinch tighter or looser. And they said that's how you can regulate the temperature for it. So if you have those cinched all the way tight, I'm sure it's a 32 degree quilt, and you're basically sleeping on the quilt.
So the tighter you cinch it, the closer the bottom comes.
Yeah, closer
to
to the fabric.
being together.
Like a sleeping bag.
To where if it's looser, you can kind of have like a wider blanket. Not a blanket, but it's just going to get some width, but then it's going to also create some airflow in there.
Yeah. And this is a super legit quilt. It's very comparable in any backpacking comparison. It's got a over-insulated footbox with extra loft. It's got some broad shoulders, which your Stone Glacier Mummy bag has, that I love.
And so I've been running the Stone Glacier Mummy bag. I think
it's Chill Cute 0 degree.
Is it the 0? For quite some time.
Yeah.
And that was my first jump into like a true quality.
That's a legit bag, dude.
Sleeping bag.
Yeah.
I love it.
It still is legit.
Everyone, like I stayed so warm through nights where you would be cold, like other people would be cold.
I'm boiling,
dude, I'm fine.
Nalgene bottles at flipping 2 a.m.
I'm over
boiling
there
water.
just snoring out of my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed my Stone Glacier sleeping bag. And it's not like a knock on it, but without the sleeping pad sleeve, you're just free floating on top, and a lot of times you're sliding off of that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a pillow sleeve either.
Yeah, so this setup we had both of these out on the grass today. This setup was impressive because how small it is together and how light it is. Clearly, this is going to be if it's hot, like right now it's so hot in Utah, even through the nights, you could easily use something like that.
Yeah, and this gets you by, I would say, in most Western states till that first week of October, second week of October, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you had a high R value pad.
The pad's going to be huge. And then the funny thing is, some people, I like to sleep in clothing.
Yeah.
I don't know why, especially when I'm out there. I just use it it feels like a comfort thing, but also maybe added insulation. But on those cold nights, like October, November pack-in hunts, dude, it's like puffy jacket and puffy pants sometimes, and my sleeping bag.
Yeah, I know it can't hurt, but for me, it's not even the warmth in the bag, because I'm sure it adds some warmth. But then I read studies that it's you're warmer when your skin the sleeping bag.
I just don't
But for me, it's getting out of my bag in the morning, where it's I can't be in my underwear. I gotta have basically all my clothes on and ready to go, because I'd be freezing for several hours of the first light,
several. That's just out there. Several hours. I can't get dressed. I'm freezing. It's so cold. First light is several hours long.
Yeah. So this Stone Glacier Chill Cute 32 degree quilt is legit. Ultralight, ultra packable, has a bungee system that will keep this centered on your pad, which is really cool. I'm excited to test it out a little bit.
How about this? I didn't think about this until now. Say you had that and you enjoyed it, and if you loosened it, it was big enough that you could then slide another bag in. So you're almost creating the Big Agnes style.
You could, I have a 40 degree marmot that is super lightweight and packable. You could slide it in there and probably make that 20 degree bag.
Yeah. So it's an option. I'm sure they don't brand it that way or market it that way, but clearly you can. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Just to tell you.
Sleep system freedom.
We live in America. You could build your own sleep system. So that's kind of the deep dive on the sleep systems, guys. I don't know how the heck we talked for 48 minutes about sleeping, but I do know from past experience that it makes or breaks a trip. It makes or breaks my attitude on the trip. It has a direct correlation on how good a video is going to be for you guys to watch, if I'm sleeping good or not. So, this is an investment for the company, honestly.
The company should invest in Matt's sleeping system.
Yeah,
instead of just pump you full of Mountain Ops melatonin gummies.
Yeah, dude.
Eat them all.
How about those? I'm stoked for that, because I was always a guy that was dang, does anybody got that NyQuil,
Yeah, I guess, hey, we're talking about sleeping. This new product that Mountain Ops is going to drop, Matt got a small jar, tub of them, whatever. but they're melatonin gummies. So I'm no sleep expert. The things that I've used for sleep before is either melatonin or magnesium to help you sleep.
Yep.
And I guess they did it in gummy form. I'm not trying to speak for Mountain Ops whatsoever, but gummy form was to a lot of people, I guess, maybe in a survey of some sort, don't want to drink a ton of water like right at sleep because you might have to urinate through the night, which is just one more thing to get up and get out of bed. And
like their slumber.
Freeze for hours.
Yeah. Freeze.
Yeah, dude, I've done it. But Mountain Ops has dropped some gummies, melatonin gummies.
So stoked for this because I was a fan of their slumber, like a hot drink before bed.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these times when you're backpacked in, you're like, dang, dude, I just walked clear down to the creek or I just filtered water. I don't know that I want to use that water for slumber, or it's like, I don't know if I want to get up in 4 hours to take a leak. Like anybody that knows me personally knows I have like a kitten-sized bladder. Like that's the joke. Like, every gas station we pass, we better stop at so Matt can take a leak. I know I just sound high maintenance on this podcast, but
sheesh.
Yeah, the gummies, stoked.
Yeah, I'm excited for those.
Are you zoning out a little bit? You need a little energy boost? Take yourself over to mountainops.com and get you some Hush Ignite. It is my favorite source of energy that money can buy. 200 milligrams of caffeine, no crash, clean energy. Use code HUSH at checkout to save you some cash.
Again, you're just basically, sometimes when you're out there, you're so tired. Here's what I've found on some of these shed hunts, some of these hikes, some of these hunts in the backcountry. I would assume I'm going to crash out and sleep like a baby because I'm freaking tired.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. Sometimes you're tired, but your feet are sore. And my feet are throbbing. And my feet are throbbing because they're like on the ground. There's so many reasons why you may or may not be getting good quality sleep. But if you can, check box as many of those as you can, right? Like
control the controllables.
Yes, control the controllables. You're going to increase your odds of getting good rest, which, we all know good rest totally changes your mood, your attitude, how good you feel.
Yeah.
It's just good. I just want to sleep. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to go sleep after this.
Yeah. And I just in closing, we all go hunting for a lot of reasons. We go hunting for the adventure. We go hunting for the animal. We go hunting for that next adrenaline rush, But I think as a whole, we go for the experience. And that experience can be made or broke on sleeping and how poor you sleep. And I know I harped on this. I beat a dead horse, but if I had any advice for a young hunter or somebody just barely getting into hunting, I would say boots, binoculars, weapon, sleep system. And then
in any specific order?
No, that order. That exact
in that order.
Boots, binoculars, weapon, sleep system. And then go for your spotting scope. And then go for your trekking poles, your backpack. Go for, your stove.
So what was that 4 or 5?
4.
4. So those are your top 4.
That's my top 4. Because boots gets you in the area. Gets you to where you want to go. Binoculars finds what you want. You get a lot of data from binoculars. Good binoculars on a tripod. It's really hard to beat. 3rd is your weapon. Kill that animal you find with your boots and your binos. And 4th is your sleep system. Keep you out there longer.
I like it. This idea of like backcountry hunting is so much more popular now than it ever has been. The information, just like this podcast, the gear, the technologies that have evolved and adapted to just get better and better and better and lighter and more efficient is allowing us all to pursue that experience that Matt talked about and do it more comfortably, have more fun, stay out there longer, do it with less effort as far as weight and everything like that. It's pretty fun to see because I'm 40. Matt's, 24 now?
25.
25. So we're like a different generation.
Yep.
when I started doing it, it's like, I'm not saying like it's a problem at all, but like it's just so much more popular. And these younger generations below me have access to all the information and the gear now. So it's becoming more popular, and I love seeing it. So many people, no matter what it is we do, they're just like, you're creating your own competition, whether it's shed hunting, areas, knowledge, etc. Man, I love seeing these younger people go out and just rough it.
Yeah.
Whether they got nice gear or not, it's just really fun to see that like that next generation is really getting into it.
Yeah, man.
I think everybody's getting into it. I don't want to say that. Obviously, like older people are getting into it, but it's so cool to see the younger generation just like hunting is like a lifestyle now.
It is.
It's a hobby. It's always been something people do to, get food, etc. But it's a lifestyle. And that's what's so cool about the Hush brand is we're like a lifestyle brand with our apparel and stuff. But like people who are really, really getting into it, especially the young people, it's like not just a hobby or it's just something. It's like a lifestyle. Hunting, backpacking in, shed hunting. It's the brand of clothing, t-shirts they wear, the hats they wear. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like what they do to just feel like they're working towards something.
Been there, dude.
Yeah. Matt's the perfect example.
Yeah. It's all you can think about. And that's, what is that? Idle hands. What's that phrase?
I don't know.
Anyways, I totally just botched that. But a couple little quotes I was thinking of as Eric was talking, like all the technology upgrades and stuff. Like we're standing on the shoulders of giants or whatever, of all the people before us that learned the hard way. And that like history repeats itself unless you change action. And I mean, you're not going to sleep any better if you just keep doing the same thing over and over. You're not going to kill more animals if you keep just still hunting with the wind at your back. Like these things are not going to change unless you change your action and change your attitude. And that's my closing thought is like, if you want to sleep better, if you want to hunt harder, you got to invest time and money on some of these controllables. And I can vouch for it. Like you will have better success when you get better rest.
I like it. And some of these gear that are a little more expensive, they last. They do. You won't go through all these phases of like, all right, next year I'm going to get the next little bit better and a little bit better.
Perfect example. Sorry, I know I just said I was going to close, but I had the opportunity to record a podcast with my wife's uncle, Justin, mule deer slayer, and we got talking about gear. And he runs a Big Agnes sleeping bag, I believe, down. It's a 0 degree down bag. Mm-hmm. He's had it for 11 seasons.
Yeah, divide that up. Whatever he paid
per
for
use
it.
method.
Yeah. There's so many ways we can go into this stuff because I was just going to talk about a whole kind of like an offshoot topic, but we're going to close it at that, guys. We're going to wrap this up. I really hope that this podcast was full of information, some tips, some tricks. You learned something from the podcast. This time of the year, we're really doing a lot more educational YouTube videos, educational podcast style stuff because the season's about to come up and we want to pass on any type of tip or trick or information that we have to you guys, the listeners, to just try to add some value.
Yep. It costs nothing. Guys, it costs nothing. Subscribe, like it, share it, leave a comment. It's free to do all those things. And it really shows us that you guys care about what the heck we're talking about. So until next time, shoot straight and sleep well. And we will see you guys next week.
See you next week, guys.